Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we're super happy to have you here. And if you've been listening and enjoying for a while, I would be super grateful if you would please take a moment to give us a review on Apple Podcasts. It's one of the best and simplest ways to pay it forward and help others find the show so that they too can tap into the powerful perspectives and positive vibrations we are collectively emanating. The other unique and magical way to share this show is by sending any friends you think would benefit from listening to this podcast our Game with the Universe link at positivehead.com/game. Also listed in the show notes, which will serve them up a quote-unquote random episode when they click it. Just instruct them before clicking the link to close their eyes for a moment and sincerely ask the universe to cue up the episode that contains the insight and perspectives that they most need to hear at this point in their life journey, and then click to listen to whatever episode is synchronistically served up to them. I have heard time and time again from people about the incredible results they received playing the game. So just tell your friends magical results are guaranteed or their karma back. All right, all you positive heads, welcome, welcome. Here we grow again. So grateful to be back with you all as always. Actually took a few days off. We had the interview episode yesterday, but Monday and Tuesday of this week we took off for the holidays. I wasn't really planning to, but as the show sort of unfolds, I just go with the flow with what's happening. And there was a little bit of turbulence with editing. Dalien, who edits and releases the episodes, was dealing with some personal things down in Chile where he lives and some upheaval, and it made it a little trickier for him to edit. And, it was hitting right on the holiday, right on Christmas and the day before. And so I just went with the flow on it, and we didn't release episodes on those days. Probably some of you are looking for them. I was thinking of you. I was sending you amazing vibes, love over the holidays. And, the thing about the holidays, they really can be challenging for a lot of people. And a lot of things come up. For me, it feels like a portal is opened, where it's like, okay, there's a lot of love, energy, and open-heartedness and cheer and goodwill and all those things. But there's also the other side of that, and that is people feeling isolated or down or sad, or they're not really in tune with the holidays, so it only brings up more shines a light on certain things, not having the family connection that they'd like, or things like that. And that can be really tricky. I've always had family around at the holidays, and blessed to say so. And, but my heart more and more goes out for those who aren't having those sorts of experiences. And that was, part of what Dalien actually was going through, along with, some other things and moving and things like that. So it's why it sort of affected, the release of the show. So I feel like it's something really important to address and to take a look at, and to understand, how do we get through this? How do we not continue the same patterns and, so forth? And I actually, Dalien, being very courageous and brave and vulnerable, is going to come on the show next week and talk a little bit about it. And I've been wanting to have him on forever. He's originally the co-host in the early days. And for those of you who've been around that long or listen back to the archives, he's amazing, just such a beautiful, amazing soul. And he has agreed that next week he'll come on and we'll talk a little bit about it. But I wanted to just address it because I know there's others out there who have been going through a trying time over the holidays, and just really take a look at how can we put it into perspective that is serving you as opposed to holding you back. What I may do is read some from Journey of Souls today, kind of depending how this flows. It's a book by Michael Newton. It's a case study of life between lives and gives us perspective onto the other side. And I feel like it's relevant. So kind of depending how I flow here with what comes up for me as I'm sort of freestyling into the microphone this fine day. If I have time, I may start reading from that. If not, we'll do it another time, because one of the stories that I have queued up gives the long view of how, we're really working out these issues of, in some cases, like even one of the stories that I would read from, talks about isolation being a theme that a lot of people work out over a long period of time, over lifetimes. So you can be caught in, that sort of cycle in this life, and you're just, only seeing it from the view of your current life, but really it's a recurring pattern for you that you've played out over lifetimes, so that you can actually move through it. And part of my conversation to Dalien was, it was like a culmination of things that hit all at once. Electricity out in his place because of circumstances that unfolded out of his control, and then moving, and then family not being there, and him really wanting to share time with family. And it sort of brought up all these old things for him. And what my advice to him is, when you have these recurring pains that come up, and that, first off, of feeling the pain fully, not shoving it down, not resisting it. A lot of times people will confuse, positive thinking. Don't look at what hurts, and actually that's not it. To me, positive thinking is actually understanding from the highest perspective, even the things that hurt are serving you. They're there for you. The universe, higher self, God, whatever you want to call it, wants to experience that pain through you, wants to process it through you. And when you can start to understand, okay, I'm in this place, this, whatever the holidays we're using as an example here is triggering this pain in myself. I'm angry and lashing and fighting against it and sad. And instead of just having that perspective on it, you can still feel sad and maybe angry and maybe hurt and all those things, but bringing the observer perspective. But that's happening, sure. But now I'm adding the layer of understanding to it, that it's happening for me. This is something that I'm so brave and bold and such a, I have so much love in my being. I signed up to process this energy, not only for myself, but for the collective, for mankind, right? Because whatever you're processing within yourself, you're processing for the collective. And you signed up to do that because you are such a bold, brave, love-filled, incredible soul. And if you can start appreciating yourself for that. It doesn't mean running from it when it comes up. It means actually looking at it, actually being with it, allowing it to, with deep breathing, allowing these feelings to process through you, and then moving into a state of appreciation that you are willing to actually experience such incredibly difficult circumstances and painful circumstances. What's happened with most people up to this point in their journey is they've sort of hated or disliked the pain, right? But we all know, especially those of you out there with tattoos, or, that's the first example that comes to mind. I don't have any tattoos, but I hear people who have them talk about, it's like a good pain, right? And people can relate to that in all kinds of scenarios, right? Where it's like, that kind of hurts good, right? Well, there's some of that going on with the pain that you have in your life, right? And if you can say, okay, it's happening, but instead of me disliking what's being processed through me, what wants to be moved through me, not blocked and held and, dammed up, but actually move through me. If you can look at it and say, it's not easy, but I'm bringing love to it. I'm bringing love to this pain. I'm bringing love to this process. I'm actually going to use this as an opportunity to dance in the rain. Right? I'm going to actually, instead of the years of this same cycle coming up because I haven't fully processed, I've resisted it and disliked it or hated it or, resented it, right? I'm going to try a different approach. I'm going to try wrapping my arms around it, loving it fully, completely, and accepting that I'm such a badass. I actually signed up to be the one who processes this chunk of energy, this blockage for myself and for mankind. And that is bringing a perspective to it that is so powerful and liberating. I mean, think of the beauty of, the person who's hit hard times and all is, lost. And then they get up and they lift themselves up by their bootstraps. They go out and it's pouring rain and they dance in the rain. They sing in the rain. They bring love where there is so much reason not to. They find a reason to see the beauty in it, the joy in it, the love in it. The power of that scenario. Any of you out there who have had this sort of scenario where you haven't lifted yourself up by the bootstraps, haven't decided to, sing and laugh in the rain and celebrate the contrast, the shadow that is cast on your life, right? What name a piece of art that you've ever seen that doesn't have shadow in it? It doesn't exist. Think of a painting. How much shadow? I'm looking at artwork right now. Lots of artwork in front of me on the studio wall here. Very beautiful, visionary, psychedelic artwork. And there's so much shadow cast in it to make that beauty. That's your life. You are an artist. Your soul is living out its living artwork through you. And it wants to happen through you. And we've been so busy resisting so much of it at times. We've been so busy fighting against the pain, the separation, all of the things that we struggle with, that people struggle with at different varying degrees. My conversation with Dalien, and I'm sure we'll talk about it next week, was, dude, you are such a badass. Like you are so worthy of the love that you're not giving to yourself. And we're so easily willing to beat up on ourselves. I saw a quote the other day by my good friend Sydney Campos, who was on the show a while back. And she said, the thing you're most scared of anyone to know about you is the thing we're all waiting to love you for. And that goes for yourself as well, right? It's time to move into a state of loving all of these parts of ourselves, loving the shadow part of ourselves, finding our way through it, not being scared to reach out and be vulnerable and say, hey, I'm really hurting or need help. It's a great place, the Positive Heads Facebook group, for that, by the way. Where you can get support, or people in your life, or, finding something to just tune into and adjust your vibration. You've got all these tools and resources. There's so much help waiting at arm's distance for any and every one of you who are struggling. And most importantly is being that for yourself. And you're not always, sometimes you just feel broken and weak and you're not really able to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. And that's okay too. Loving yourself there. It's like loving yourself wherever you are. All this judgment and idea about where you should be or shouldn't be and comparing yourself to others. And, it's a joke. It really is. You are a completely unique emanation of source on your own unique trajectory. And comparing yourself to anyone else, it never makes any sense at all. You're on your own time frame. You're on your own schedule, on your own path. And if you can get into that state where you're loving yourself wherever you are, man, that is such a game changer. Before we continue on with today's episode, for those of you interested in getting more fantastic fungi in your life, I want to take a quick moment to tell you about a friend of mine's brand new company, The Great Mother. Recently, I have been drinking The Great Mother's superfood mushroom coffee alternative called Ritual, as well as regularly taking their awesome Ally microdoses, and I am truly loving both. As you probably know, these days, many of the world's highest achievers and performers swear by microdosing. The problem is it can still be difficult to get a hold of magic mushrooms. That's why when my friend reached out, who lives in an area and country where legalization is not a problem like it was in the past, and said he'd be willing to offer microdoses to my listeners, I wanted to pass the word along. Ally microdoses are 100% organic. And in addition to a small amount of the magic active ingredient, they also contain functional mushrooms like lion's mane, cordyceps, chaga, and other brain boosters like bacopa. Ally is essentially a full spectrum nootropic. And
of course, the coffee alternative ritual doesn't contain magic mushrooms, but it has an array of the best organic functional mushrooms in the world. And, with functional mushrooms, it's really important to get them from the highest integrity sources. And whereas some other highly popular mushroom coffee alternatives on the market only contain a few varieties of functional mushrooms in their actual ingredients, Ritual has 7. Not only does it contain more types, it also contains 3 to 4 times the amount that the big brands have in each serving, and it tastes amazing. I actually like to have it on its own as well as mixing it into my coffee sometimes as well. However, since this is definitely a unique offering, there are a few steps. First, just reach out and request to follow the private page, thegreat.mother on Instagram. Once you've been accepted to follow, just message what you're interested in getting and someone will get back to you.
I know some of you hearing this are thinking, wow, I've never thought to love all these ugly parts of myself. And the thing, what you have judged, by the way, as ugly, they're not actually ugly. The shadow is beautiful. It's as beautiful as the bright, shiny spots, right? And necessary as the bright shiny spots. This contrast is everything. It is everything, and so important. And now that you're really starting to understand that and get that and ground that into your perspective, now the next time the shadow parts come up, you're going to feel them. It doesn't mean they're not going to sting. It doesn't mean it's not going to hurt. It doesn't mean your heart's not going to ache. Some of you have been through things I can't even imagine. And what I say to you is, wow, you are such a brave soul. You chose those experiences, and you can also choose to love your way through them and accept them and know that everything happened for you, not to you, and that your mess can become your message. What you went through is going to empower you to help others who have gone through it or are going through it or have yet to go through it. And they're going to be so lost and hurt and just wandering blindly in the dark. And perhaps they then bump into you who can show them the way out. And that's by wrapping your arms around whatever arises and loving that. Whatever arises, love that. As Matt Kahn, my former guest on the show, said, I love that so much. And I love you all so much. And I believe going into Journey of Souls today, this particular chapter might be in story of the intermediate soul might be a little bit too long to go down. It's a little bit longer than the last one we did, so I think I'll hold off on it for now. But coming soon, and like I said, what's beautiful about it gives you the perspective of the long view of your soul. Right? A lot of times it feels like, my whole life has been this cycle of the same thing, and I'm so sick of it, and I want it to change. And it's like, meanwhile, from the soul's vantage point, this is one lifetime of many lifetimes where you're refining these things. So it's like learning patience, the ultimate virtue, right? Being patient with yourself, being patient. All you remember is your incarnation up to this point in this physical lifetime, perhaps, but really that's a blip in the unfolding saga, the story that is your journey. And so if you can be patient with yourself and you can just start to love yourself exactly where you are, dance when the lights are cut out, dance in the dark, dance in the rain, not realizing you are your own twin flame. You are your own soulmate. That's a big one that's been really, really sinking in for me lately, and I think a lot of others, and I want it to really sink in with each of you. The person that the soulmate, the twin flame that you wanted, the happily ever after that you've dreamed of. Everyone dreams of this ideal partnership, I believe, but that partnership is actually with you. And it doesn't mean it can't come in the form of another, right, that's reflecting you, but instead of how many people have approached it, I need to complete myself, find my other half, right? No, actually, you're in the process of becoming the whole, falling completely madly in love with yourself and the art, the work of art that is your life. And then perhaps you'll bump up another who is at that same place vibrationally, which is why you attracted them into your world. And now you can celebrate together, not because you need to fill some hole or void and complete your other half, but because you're choosing to celebrate and journey together for whatever time that may transpire. But it will have a shelf life, right? Even if it's the rest of this life, right? But the person, the soul, the twin flame, the one that you will always be with is you. And that is the ultimate love affair this whole thing is about. It's reflecting back. Source, higher self, the one is all alone. Ultimately, it's playing the game of others, right? Humans in different forms, etc. But the consciousness that animates my form is the consciousness that animates your form. And so what we're learning on a small scale is the same lesson that as above, so below, they say it's all just mirrors and reflections. So we're just learning the same lesson that God, the collective, has had to learn. Ultimately, it is alone, and it is a love story with itself. And there's something really, really beautiful and romantic about that. If you really feel into it, like you're the one you've been waiting for, and you start moving into that, including the shadow that makes up the art that is your existence. You're really on the path now to leveling up and calling in new experiences instead of repeating the same cycles over and over and over again. With that being said, I have a new track to leave you guys with today. This one is by Volo. I'm not sure if I say Volo or Volo. Hopefully he will hear this, write me, and correct me on the pronunciation. Nonetheless, the music is magical. This is a new one called Sun Drops that he actually sent to me, and he said, I just wanted to keep you updated with my new releases. I just put out my last official release of the year, Sun Drops. For me, this track represents the childlike, carefree headspace of not taking life too seriously and enjoying the flow of things. Hopefully, this will bring some light into a dark time of the year for many people. Indeed, it's full of light, as are you, as am I, and I'm so appreciative to continue on this journey of self-growth, self-realization. Till next time, journey well. Love you all so, so much.